Hello everyone, this is Vineet Pandey. आपसे before I start talking, I want to say something. उस पथ पर पथिक कुशलता क्या जिस पथ पर बिखरे शूल न हो, उस नाविक की धारी कुशलता क्या जब धाराएं प्रतिकूल न हो. So this is Vineet Pandey talking to you all, and as you all know that before this lecture in English, there was a session was going on for paper one, and that randomly got disturbed by a lot of people. They started troubling, they started abusing us, and in short, they made us stop. But I want to tell them that my second video is a slap because that stoppage was just a 5 minutes stopping for charging the mobile phone. I'm back. Keep criticizing, keep abusing, and this is how you keep motivating us. Well, this is Vineet Pandey from SAHITYA classes, and as you all know that we have started this live session classes, free classes for you all, and I chose the topic literary theory. Why so? All the students, those who are preparing for literary theory, they have the biggest problem that how to study literary theory, what are the sources, what are the books, and how can we have a proper approach to study literary theory. A lot of students, those who are watching this video, I want to ask you one thing, and it's something very coming to the heart. I always I prefer going for one attempt recording or live sessions. How many of you actually understand that for studying literary theory, you must have an idea of literary criticism? If you are not having any idea about Plato, you don't know criticism, you don't know Aristotle, his criticism, then you're totally zero in Dryden, Horace and others. You have not heard Wordsworth, Coleridge or anyone else, and this will be biggest drawback. Why? You won't be able to relate. So before I start talking about all those things, I want to tell you this thing. This is very, very important, that make sure you start studying literary theory. You do not need to buy any book called Peter Berry, Raman Selden, N. Krishnaswamy or anything. Why so? If you buy Peter Berry, you will be able to read the chapter, but you won't be able to apply those things. You won't be able to relate it. So what you have to do is, first of all, go for criticism. Here you can simply take B. Prashad, his Indian criticism is much better. In fact, I can recommend you to Rantul Tilak, his book of criticism is much better. But now the question comes that what if we spend 5 days, 10 days reading criticism? Is it actually worthy for UGC net exam? And here comes the great approach and the experience that yes, criticism is not important for net JRF exam. It is only just one question, maximum 2 questions. So for 2 questions, if you read Plato to T.S. Eliot with all those in-depth topics and terminologies, it will be like 10 days rigorous study to prepare all those things. And in short, there will be no guarantee after studying for 10 days that you get a question which is known to you. So here, we can simply go for all those things in a summarized way. As you all can see, it's a live session. I am going for the topic now. I believe you all can see this. This is traditional criticism in 2 parts. There are various types of division of criticism, but I am going for the broader terms selectively, which are very important for the students, and moreover, you can understand in an easy way. So, talking about traditional criticism. What is traditional criticism? The criticism that you saw in our comments? No. The criticism that you read was in slangs? No. The criticism which always happens in your classrooms, in offices? No. Criticism is the word which is not actually related to the real life criticism. It's just where you study a work and discuss the merit, demerit, its influence on socio or anthropological structure of life and its potentials in future. Means you are studying a book, you're talking about the merit of the book, good qualities, language, style, structure, content. Bad qualities, again language, style, structure and influence on society. So in short, we're talking about the good things and bad things, but you are not biased. You are totally impartial. A critic must understand that he is somebody who is dissecting. Dissecting, किसी चीज की गहन छानबीन करना, minute observation करना. So critic has to point out those things. Coleridge, ST College, Samuel Taylor College, he says that a critic is like a priest who deciphers the meanings of God for the follower. So God and follower, they cannot meet easily. It is the priest who helps the follower to learn from God. So we're going to talk about the two different forms of criticism here. First one is legislative criticism. When you make notes of this thing in legislative criticism, just remember that legislative criticism actually deals with classical criticism where rules and regulations were strictly followed. इसी और कर सकते हैं अगर आप कर सकते हैं अच्छा नहीं होगा sorry anyway नहीं होगा so we remember this legislative criticism guys, it's dealing with the rules and regulations. So we cannot talk about classical criticism or legislative criticism. We have Plato. When Plato started talking about imitation, mimesis, and Plato talked about his concept of literature, he said that the only aim of literature or poetry is to instruct. It should not delight. He said that first thing, I do not accept any poetry. But remember, Plato also said that only two types of poetry can be accepted. And these poetries were hymns to God. So either you are praising God or you are writing panegyric. P-A-N-E-Z-Y-R-I-C. Panegyric means praising poems where you are praising good people. So Plato was of the view that there are only two types of poetry, but it should be only used to instruct, to teach. Aristotle, his student, his disciple, he had a different opinion. He said that the main object of poetry or literary things is to delight, to convey the things in a very different way, unique way. Well, I take the reference of Kerala set exam conducted on 9th of September, and yesterday we conducted Kerala set in our class also. There was a question on Vakrokti theory, Vakrokti Siddhant. I was teaching my students and I told that we discussed this thing in the class. Vakrokti is when you convey something in a roundabout way. You do not say something in a direct way. That is Vakrokti. That is the part of literature. So literature must be used to delight. I make it easy for you. If you want to give me introductions and something very informative, you want to tell me that Vineet sir, you are driving a car and there is left side. So you have to take the turn. So if it is for instruction, why will you write this in a poetic language? You can simply write this in a prose language. You can also say that there is left. So if poetry's intention is to instruct, then it is not actually instructing, it is confusing. If you write in Hindi, आपका ध्यान किधर है? Left side इधर है. Rhymings तो match हो गई. Rhymings are matched. But why will somebody use poetic style to convey something which is informative? Means Aristotle said that literature, poetry, it must be used for the sake of delightment, for the sake of pleasure. After this, Horace came, Ben Jonson, Dryden, they were all of the view that we must follow classical style of great thoughts, great emotions and great expressions. So remember this thing. The classical writers were of the view that to write a great book, to write a classical work, you must have great thought. Means your thought should be very immortal, universal. It should not be day-to-day affair. It should not be a problem between two relatives, two families. It should be universal. Means it can be ideal love, jealousy, seven deadly sins, which is everywhere. Second thing, after great thought, it should have great emotion. So when a writer is writing this, when the writer has to talk about this, writer must feel those great emotions so that he can feel those emotions and it will help him to go for spontaneous expression. And after that, when the classicals believe that we should have great expression also, here they are talking about the language, diction. And here we have a classical theory of collection, selection and arrangement theory. So make sure you remember these things. There are three important pillars: great thought, great emotions and great expression. Along with these things, many writers, they kept on shifting their point of view, but remember that all these classical writers were almost dealing with the same thought process. They said, imitate classical writers to be the writers. Horace said, copy them, match your paragraphs. Then Ben Jonson and others said that imitate and learn from them. Then Pope said that blindly go for a copy, just imitate blindly. Arnold said that compare your paragraph and it is touchstone. Just one writer is quite modern in that thing. It is T.S. Eliot. T.S. Eliot says that the classical writings are the base, they are the traditions, but we can go for something better. We must employ our individual talent. So this is what you have to remember here, that tradition and individual talents concept. T.S. Eliot is someone who is totally different from other classical writers. So make sure you write this as a rule, that all the classical writers, they are actually following great thought, great emotion and great expression, which can also be called great style. So make sure you remember this. Even Arnold, Matthew Arnold, Victorian writer, he also says the same thing, that poetry is criticism of life under the laws of poetic truth and poetic beauty. So when he says poetic beauty, he is actually talking about the style, standard and the pattern. Along with these things, we talk about the second type of criticism, which is called liberal criticism. This is wrong, Priyanka. Guys, the spelling is wrong anyway. So, liberal criticism is also known as romantic criticism. So, what you have to remember here is that romantic criticism, it was quite liberal. They were not after the blind imitation of style, pattern. They were of the view that poetry directly comes to the heart. What do you believe? Tell me, what are your point of view? You can write in the comment. You think poetry comes from the mind when you have worked hard, you have great collection of words, selection of words, and you arrange them in an order where we have all the rhyme scheme matched? Or you think that you feel emotional, you are in love, you are in sad mood, gloomy mood, and you just express whatever comes in your heart, and is that poetry? What do you say? Wordsworth said poetry is spontaneous overflow of powerful emotions. But do you think that all those emotions, whenever your heart is overpowered with those emotions, whatever you convey is every time it's a poetry? For example, if you're going somewhere for the interview and you are having a white shirt, it's a good white shirt, and you have arranged it from some sources for the interview, it's a very serious thing, and then someone comes and throws some ink on your white shirt. आपकी शर्ट पे किसी ने इंक थ्रो कर दिया, now it's totally inked, and your heart got filled with emotions and you conveyed something. Can we call that poetry? No. You're going somewhere, somebody calls you, come here, and then you come close and he slaps you without reason. Your heart gets filled with emotions and you convey some words. Is that poetry? No. So make sure when students they study this thing, they forget it. Wordsworth's complete definition was that poetry is spontaneous overflow of powerful emotions recollected in tranquility. When you are all alone, gloomy mood, you are totally alone, you are actually in seclusion, and then you recall some good memory and your heart gets filled with those emotions. If you remember, Wordsworth has famously written in his book Daffodils, he says, when oft in my coach I lie, in vacant mood, in pensive mood, in vacant eye, they flash upon my inward eye, and my heart dances with the daffodils. So that's what you have to remember here. Coleridge was of the view that we should maintain some dignity in language. Wordsworth said we do not need to make hi-fi language. Hi-fi language means euphuistic style. I hope you know euphuse. Euphuse, a term coined by Roger Ascham in Schoolmaster of 1570. So euphemistic style is when you're conveying something. Why do you need to take some artificial vocabulary? You can simply talk, you can simply teach. If you are a poet, you want to convey something very original which comes from your heart. Why do you need to take artificial wordings, artificial vocabulary? It's quite simple. And moreover, Wordsworth says that poet is a man talking to a man in a language really used by common man. So you are a man talking to a man. If a purist person is talking to a purist person, why do we need to use an artificial language? Coleridge was of the view that we must maintain dignity of poetry and meter so that people can differentiate between prose and poetry. Wordsworth said the only difference between prose and poetry is of meter. Remember this has been asked in question paper. Along with these things, when Keats and others started writing, Keats and Shelley are not the professional critics, not the pure critics. In fact, Keats actually talked about negative capability, which is easily related to T.S. Eliot's theory of impersonality. So either you study negative capability or you study theory of impersonality, both are same. What you have to remember is Shelley compared four ages of poetry. He talks about all those four ages of poetry, and he says that I am defending it. So you may not confuse, you should not get confused, because four ages of poetry was written by someone else, Thomas Lord Peacock. But when Shelley talks about them, he says that we are the best people. He defends the free use of words. But remember, free use of versification means liberal use of versification, not the free verse. Many students, they get confused in blank verse and free verse. Blank verse is unrhymed iambic pentameter. Free verse is free in every sense. And again, people, they do mistakes considering free verse as nonsense verse. Remember, nonsense verse is something different, free verse is something different, and blank verse is something different. Along with these things, all these criticisms, different types, when they started studying books, people, they started finding that these criticisms were not enough. They were not able to justify things. Many of you know that Alexander Pope, one of the greatest critics of neoclassical age, and no doubt one of the greatest critics of literature, he was totally biased in certain things. अभी आप खुद सोच के imagine this, that Alexander Pope has done some criticism, but he was biased in certain cases. For example, he kept on criticizing one of the famous persons of that time, and he kept on calling him, he was using the word, some homosexual term for him, sporus. So Lord Harvey was his enemy, and if there is an enemy and you are constantly criticizing your enemy, you are not the true critic. For example, you have seen people commenting and abusing us in the previous video. So they are not the true critic. Why? Because they are not doing the positive or constructive criticism. So Alexander Pope is highly criticized for that. In the book of Compton Rickett, Alexander Pope has been called the literary dictator of his age. It has been mentioned that whenever Alexander Pope, he would go to some canteen, some cafe, some coffee house, people started running away. People would slip away. Why so? Because Pope had a personality, he would get irritated and he would make fun of anyone. No doubt, Alexander Pope was blessed with the greatest writing skill, which is also known as closed couplet. Abhi, you understand this thing, that if you are in front of Alexander Pope and you are sipping coffee, but the way you are sipping coffee, it irritates him and he writes a satire on you, you will be famous. So this was the reason that people, they started running away, seeing Pope, and Alexander Pope himself accepted this. Alexander Pope said, yes, I am happy to see man not afraid of God, but of me. So this is why Pope also knew this, that yes, I am somebody needed. But this was biased criticism. So if Pope is considering some critic or some writer as the minor one, we cannot rely upon him. Maybe he had issues. If Pope is praising somebody, again we cannot rely, because he was a friend. For example, Alexander Pope wanted to marry. Well, we all want to marry one day. So he went to propose a girl called Lady Mary Wortley Montaigne. Name of the girl was Lady Mary Wortley Montaigne, one of the famous blues talking of that time. He went to propose her, but Pope was not a good-looking man at all. He was only of 4 feet, then a hunchback, and was not looking good. Like face was also not good. So when he proposed the most beautiful and highly intellectual lady, in response, she just laughed at him. It was a boisterous laugh, and Pope got badly humiliated. Imagine what did Pope do? Pope went back and wrote a satire, an elegy on an unfortunate lady. You can check this thing, friends. This was asked in December 2011 NET exam. Who has written an elegy on an unfortunate lady? So this was the reason. So if you do not accept Mary's proposal, he will write satire. Means we do not need these kind of critics. So in short, what I am talking about this thing is that traditional criticism was not up to the rate. It was not trustworthy. People, they had their own issues. If in case you do not have your issues, suppose you are trying to be the true critic, how do you judge a person? Let's make it easy for you. I Vineet Pandey, with all those tag names, 6net, double GR, 15 set, then all the greatest number of students and success and all. I'm teaching you now. It's a live video, and one of the greatest thing, because here we cannot go for retake. If some mistake happens, if I lose my confidence, something like that. I'm being watched by thousands of students. What if I change my dress. I'm here in a towel, maybe my hair are totally colored in a very different way. I have tattoos everywhere and piercing everywhere. What will you say and what will your parents say? They're gonna say, is he a teacher? Really? He looks like some dilapidated druggist. And they'll say, no, he cannot teach you. He doesn't look like a teacher. Do I need to look like a teacher to teach you? My words, my mind, my gestures are being controlled from here, or my dress is controlling my teaching skill. What is controlling? My knowledge. So even if I'm pierced and have tattoos and all, I'll be having the same standard of lecture. This was happening with the writers. Their content, their books were actually judged in comparison of their personality. Remember, Lord Byron has been heavily criticized for being one of the most obscene and one of the worst character, incest. He was actually involved in a relationship with his own half-sister. It was also said that to know him, to know Lord Byron, itself was an insult. So even if you know him, it was a crime. Lord Byron, he was favorite of ladies, he was very handsome. It is mentioned in William J. Long that even Queen wanted to meet him, but he asked the Queen to take an appointment. So, if it is said for a writer, it was dangerous to know him. Why are we relating his personal life? We must go for his piece of art, literature, works. One of the greatest writers of existential literature, Genet from France. Genet was a criminal by nature. He was imprisoned for 30 years and he did all types of crimes, murder, rape, assault, all those things. But when he was imprisoned, one of the greatest writers, Jean-Paul Sartre, he tried to get him released. He did his best, started launching protests, movements, and finally got Jean Genet released. He has famously written a book called Saint Genet. Why Jean Genet? He has been criticized if he was having a bad lifestyle. If we are studying literature, we must go to the books only, not to the personality of the writer. Many of the students, people believe that Wordsworth is one of the simplest person, greatest man, and was a sage. How many of you know that Wordsworth in an early age went to France, he married a lady, Annette Vallon, and when he found that his life was in danger, he left his wife, he left his daughter and ran away. Do you know that? No. Do you know P.B. Shelley, one of the greatest romantic writers, had various affairs and became the reason of suicide of a girl of 16 years, Harriet Westbrook. Shelley would go for various affairs and then he would leave his girlfriend saying, you do not meet my intellectual standard. But are we criticizing Shelley for those things? No, we are judging Shelley for his works. In traditional criticism, books were actually compared to age, writer's personality, genre, moments, events, and then we study. For example, this is also called historical criticism. For example, if we say, bliss was it in that dawn to be alive, to be young was very happy. You will say, sir, this is for French Revolution. Yes, I know, it's Wordsworth, he said this. What if I say that read this line, be young was very happy, and now explain the same line without taking any reference of French Revolution. You will not be able to explain it. You will say it has been talked about some beautiful time, and I will say which time? You will say French Revolution. I say no, don't take that reference. Now tell me. So you will say, sir, there is no meaning at all. When Charles Dickens, he says it was the best of the time, it was the worst of the time. It was the greatest of the time, it was the baddest of the time. These kind of lines are there. If I say, okay, tell me which time, again you will say French Revolution. And I say, no, don't take reference of French Revolution. Then can you justify those lines without any reference? So earlier traditional criticism was that a piece of art was judged according to the age, gender, mindset, personality of the writer, character, and this was the reason that we were not able to judge those things because we were actually biased. Let's make it very easy for all the students in Vineet Pandey style. You have been called and said, suppose I ask you all to come for a gathering. I said, come to join my free session, open session, and you are informed going to give you very secret idea of qualifying NET. You'll be like, wow, that's great. This is what we want. So you all will buy tickets of planes and trains and you will come to the class. आप सब क्लास में आ जाओगे. Why? Because the announcement is that you will get a secret of qualifying net, and that's exclusive secret. उसको पढ़ लिया तो लाइक झिंगा था. आपको समझ में आ जाएगा. अब आप आ गए. Now you are in the class and you are waiting. You are very having those anxiety and movement feelings. You want someone to come and tell you the secret and to make it easiest. And then someone comes like this. Hello everyone, hi. So I am going to tell you the simplest way of qualifying NET. And I said, just work hard. And you were like, okay. Now tell me about you. And I will say, I also worked hard for 15 times. I couldn't qualify NET. But I understood this secret that please work hard. And you will be like, oh my God, we wasted time, we wasted money for this man. And then we say, okay, wait. One more person is coming and he will share a secret of NET. And now we get Vineet Pandey or someone else with various repeated success. So you are sure that this man has done again and again. So he knows it by heart. And then Vineet Pandey comes and says, go for 16 Mondays fast. 16 सोमवार का व्रत रखिए. And you will be like, note it down. He has done it. Maybe he is telling truth. And then I said, whenever you study British history, just focus on east side and eat chapati with samosa and this and that and those stupid things done by Babas. And what you will do, you think that this man has done it. So maybe this is the secret, this is the truth. In short, instead of going for the conveyed message that work hard or go for those fast and offerings to God, you compare those meanings with the personality of speakers, and you said that somebody who did not qualify is asking me to work hard, which has no meaning, and somebody who has repeatedly done something is asking me to do stupid things, but I am serious because he has done it. In both cases, the personality becomes important and piece of work is not important at all. This was the biased criticism, also called traditional criticism. So here I was telling you about that, what is the need of these things. Now we switch to the next topic. I hope you're not getting bored. One of the best things is to go live, teaching live. And I wish all my people, those who are actually criticizing us in various comments under disguises, they dare to go live. Anyway, so here we have the term empiricism. All the people, those who are teaching you NET JRF classes, guidance, I bet 99% teachers, they don't know that before they start literary theory, they must explain empiricism. It's a philosophy. See, empiricism is a philosophy that all knowledge comes through observation, experience, experiment and learning. How many of you know that the sun rises in the east? You will say, yes, I know it. Okay. How many of you know that Trump is the president of United States? You will say, yes, we know it. Okay. How many of you have actually seen him in White House? What if television is lying? What if it's a great propaganda? All the newspaper and television, they are lying. America has no president. It has been colonized. There are aliens. But we have been repeatedly told to believe that there is some president in the White House and we are also safe. Is there anyone who has seen Trump in the seat of president as the White House president? No. So in short, your knowledge is not the real knowledge. It is something that you have got from various sources. Empiricism simply believes that your knowledge should come from your observation. So if someone says that the sun rises in the east, you must go and find out that the sun is actually rising or not. Now I make it very easy for you all. You must be confused that it means 99% knowledge is baseless. Yes, it believes, the theory says that 99% learning knowledge, it's all false. Okay, let's make it very easy in Vineet Pandey style. You went for coffee shop and you said, hi, get me a hot coffee. But you didn't tell that what is the temperature of that hot coffee. 20 degree, 30 degree, 100 degrees Celsius or 1000 degrees Celsius. You didn't say that. But hot means anything 10 degree. If it's above the zero level, it has that hotness. So you said get me a hot coffee, and the waiter got some coffee which was very hot. Even the cup got melted. You're like, what is that? And you said, I asked you hot coffee. Waiter said, sir, this is my hot. I actually drink this much. So in short, your hot was different, his hot was different. Then you said, okay, get me a cold coffee. And again this time you didn't tell that -1, -10, 100. And the waiter brought some ice cube, said this is coffee, please lick it. And you're like, what is that? And the waiter said, sir, my cold is -90. You said, my cold is just 0 degree. Means every person has his own truth, his own perception, his own realities and way of learning. Empiricism simply believes that one must stick to his own learnings. Means if you are reading a book, if this book is your favorite book, it doesn't mean that the same book will be favorite for others. If you say, I love Anna Karenina, there are people they will say Anna Karenina is the most boring work. If you say, I love Wuthering Heights, somebody can say, I just die for it, I'm crazy for it. But every person has a unique perception, and this is how the literary theory will start, because they are focusing on individuals' attempt of studying the process of reading, and this is how they develop the thought process. Around these things, friends, will be summing up as it's a consuming battery, so we have to take care of all those things. Dosto, friends, if you love the way I'm teaching, if you think that there is somebody, he can dare to teach you live, he has concepts in his heart and his mind, share the video, tell people. And whenever you find critics who are targeting us for no reason, just reply them that why don't you teach live? I've seen people, those who keep saying that they are the best teachers, I just request them, please come on live so that we can also learn. And if you cannot, then please let us do, guide us, help us, and go for positive criticism, because it's all about Indian education system. Right? Along with these things, thank you so much for India's biggest batch in Sahitya classes. We have touched 183 students in one roof, under one roof, and in online also we have touched 832 students by today's evening. Thank you so much for this love and honor. You can contact us on 85870 35827. Jai Hind. Good night.